This video is going to be controversial because I'll be expressing my opinion about a news story from the USA. It's a news story where the dust has begun to settle, and it's about the teenage gunman Kyle Rittenhouse being cleared of all 5 charges against him. First up, I'm British. I don't get the gun thing. I'm not going to pretend to understand any of America's complex firearms laws, or why so many American citizens have a borderline obsession with owning guns. But what I am interested in is the way that the far left woke bastards tried to spin this story. No sooner had the shootings occurred when every easily offended blue tick on fucking Twitter was screaming this was about white supremacy, many saying that a white gunman had gunned down 3 innocent black men because woke people never fucking fact check anything. Rittenhouse actually shot 3 white men, 2 of whom died, but he claimed he was there as part of a militia to guard local businesses against rioters. And the business he said he was defending was run by Muslims. So if this guy is a white supremacist, is guarding business run by brown people and shot 3 white guys, he's really fucking bad at it. So the people who danced the wokey cokey then started spreading lies, saying that he had illegally crossed state lines and that the gun wasn't legally owned, all of which was false. They also said he shouldn't have been there. And you know what? I agree with that. He shouldn't have been there. But neither should there have been rioters and fucking looters. Predictably, progressives on the far left tried to spin the story, saying it had been a peaceful anti-racism demonstration. Now, in all my years on Earth, I've never experienced the type of anger where I've heard the police have committed an atrocity and I feel compelled to steal a television and set fire to a petrol station. And I'm all for peaceful protests. But once it turns violent, those bastards show their true colours. And the woke people who were trying to push this white supremacy narrative are the same people who said fuck all when half of America was on fire throughout 2020. They're the same people who said we need to defund the racist police. Well, this is what happens when a mob turns violent and citizens take the law into their own hands. You end up with a teenager with a fucking AR-15. Now, the press have been quite vague about the weapon used, but it was either an AR-15 or something very similar. And the AR, which was originally made by Armalite and now manufactured by Colt, is the civilian version of the M16 assault rifle used by the American Army. The difference is the AR is semi rather than fully automatic. So in order to empty its 30-round magazine, and this is sold as a fucking hunting rifle, what are you shooting at 29 times and it's still coming? Anyway, to empty that magazine, you need to pull the trigger 30 times. That's why that gun is such a darling of mass shootings. The jury found that Rittenhouse had acted in self-defence. He killed 2 men and wounded a 3rd. And I'm not going to name those men because that could land me in a whole heap of legal shit. But neither am I going to refer to them as victims, because Kyle had no idea when he was pulling the trigger who he was shooting at. But now we know more about them. All 3 of the men were convicted criminals. One had been sentenced following being drunk in charge of a firearm. Doesn't that sound like a wonderful combination? Another had multiple domestic violence charges against him, including threatening to murder his own brother. And the 3rd had been found guilty on 11 charges of paedophilia. Now, that doesn't mean they should have been shot, but it takes the fucking sting out of it. In fact, I think if you asked the average woman or man on the street, would you like to shoot someone who gets their jollies from raping children? Most of them will say yes. And how did the 3 attack Rittenhouse? Well, essentially, it's like watching natural selection in real time. One of them chased him and threw a carrier bag at him. The second tried to assault him using a skateboard. And the 3rd pointed a handgun at him, which he couldn't legally own because he's a convicted fucking felon. So of those 3, let's focus on the skateboard, because to me that's pretty much the middle ground. Now, can a skateboard be a deadly weapon? Of course it can. It's wood and metal and can easily be used to bludgeon someone to death. However, if you're intent on attending your friendly neighbourhood riot and hitting someone with a skateboard, I cannot emphasise this enough. You should always check the person you're intent on assaulting isn't carrying, for what all intents and purposes, is a fucking machine gun! What did he think was going to happen? How was it going to pan out? It's as idiotic as using a butter knife to attack a nuclear submarine. So essentially, this story is about 3 violent criminals who decided to play a game of fuck around and find out. And the gunman who's just turned 18? He's got to live with what he did for the rest of his life. But given that he killed the nods, he shouldn't feel too bad about it. And as for the people who are trying to spin this story into it being about white supremacy, just fucking grow up. A white teenager shot 3 white men who were attempting to storm a Muslim-owned business. If anything, the 3 men were acting like fucking white supremacists. Is there a moral to this story? I guess it's quite simple. Don't bring a skateboard to a gunfight. As ever, thanks for watching.